It's a celebration of America's freedom. Welcome to the Mark Scaringi Show. The Mark Scaringi Show is your place for a weekly discussion on making America great again. The important political and legal issues of the day, a celebration of the Constitution, and traditional American values. Mark is a practicing attorney, a former senatorial candidate, a Donald J. Trump-endorsed delegate, and a defender of the Constitution. His goal? To put America first. And now, celebrating America's freedoms, here's attorney Mark Scaringi.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Mark Scaringi Show. This is your place on the dial for constitutional conservatism. And this is where we talk about the important political and legal issues of the day from the perspective of putting America and Pennsylvania first. Thanks for tuning in on WHP 580 AM and iHeartRadio, and also News Talk 104.1 FM and 1600 AM with WEJS, broadcasting out of Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Happy to be aboard that fine organization. If you'd like to watch prior podcasts of the show or read any of my columns on Penn Live or take a look at some great merchandise, including our popular Right to Bear Arms muscle shirt and the We're Glad You're Our Neighbor, Just Please Don't Kill Us yard signs and T-shirts, go to the MarkScaringiShow.com website. And for more political and legal news throughout the course of the week, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Mark Scaringi, Facebook, and YouTube. Well, I've been pretty busy over the past couple of weeks, as I'm sure all of you have in your daily lives, and trying to work from home for the most part, except for those who are permitted by His Excellency the Governor to work out of the physical operations of their building. We have been seeing over the past couple of days a political uprising that has initiated in the people. You're seeing the people of Pennsylvania rising up against Governor Wolf's illegal and unconstitutional executive orders, his business closure order and his stay-at-home order. You know, and as the people rise, so then do some of their elected officials. And that's the way it seems to happen throughout history. It's usually not our friendly elected officials who are well ensconced in their positions of power and privilege and doing very well during the shutdown and lockdown with their salaries and benefits and sinecures of office intact and nothing seeming to get in the way of those. It's the people who have to work in order to earn a living who are shut down by these orders, who are the ones who, of course, are leading the fight in the streets and on the Capitol steps, as we did a few weeks ago, and as we will do again this Friday at noon. There will be another rally in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, on the Capitol steps, demanding that Governor Wolf reopen Pennsylvania. But finally, you're seeing some of our elected officials stand up and speak out. It's been remarkable to notice. And interestingly, it's coming from at the county level. We have county commissioners, district attorneys, and county sheriffs who are now finally, a month and a half into this, fed up. Now, some of us, yours truly, took to the courts immediately. As soon as the business closure order was issued, we were fighting this unconstitutional overreach of historic proportions immediately in the courts. I got some attaboys from some elected officials wishing me well and encouraging me to keep up the fight. But not since yesterday have county officials finally spoken up. And I'm so pleased to see that. And it started where most political revolutions occur in Pennsylvania, in the Southwest, in the great southwestern part of the state. my home city of Pittsburgh and the surrounding counties of Butler and Greene and Washington and Fayette counties, home of the Whiskey Rebellion. Remember 200 some years ago when whiskey farmers in that neck of the woods did not want to pay the federal government's whiskey tax, and they stood up and opposed that tax. So I'm glad to see southwestern Pennsylvania leaders standing up, speaking out, denouncing these unconstitutional orders from Governor Wolf. Now, recently on Friday, the governor announced that he's reopening additional parts of Pennsylvania. 13 more counties will move from his yellow phase opening on Friday, May 15th. So on Friday, 13 more counties will move from red to yellow. Don't you just hate these stupid color-coded charts as if we're children? In any event, these counties include Allegheny, Armstrong, Bedford, Butler, Blair, Cambria, Fayette, Fulton, Greene, Indiana, Somerset, Washington, and Westmoreland. And the governor also, during that announcement, he took the opportunity to remind Pennsylvanians that he will reimpose restrictions on those counties if danger arises. Danger. That's what it says. If danger arises. Well, Governor, there's a lot of danger out there in the world today. We can get in our car and drive down the road and run off the road into a tree and harm or kill ourselves. We can get run over by a train on a train track. Our hearts can seize up in a heart attack and we can drop dead. There are so many dangers out there in Pennsylvania, but our governor has said that if dangers arise, he will move all of those 13 counties or any county in which he finds danger from yellow to red and back to shutdown. How about that? The governor also repeated his threats to arrest and prosecute those who violate his orders. Very kind of him to remind us of his power and intent to arrest and prosecute us if we defy the orders that he issued. Oh, and he's also threatened, he's reminding us that he will also work to cause the loss of our professional and occupational and other state licenses if we violate his orders. And then yesterday he also took the time to discuss and remind us of his snitch program. And that's the program that he set up so that you, if you believe, if you have evidence that your neighbor is going to work at her non-life sustaining business, you can rat her out and you can call the government and maybe they'll send the police and they'll arrest her and they'll put her in jail for violating the business closure and stay-at-home order. Now, your neighbor just wanted to go to work so that she could, earn money to do, what do we do with money that we earn? Oh, we buy food, we groceries, we pay our rent, things like that. But if you suspect that your neighbor's violating the orders, Governor Wolf wants you to turn her in, snitch on him. So the governor spent some time talking about his snitch program. And that was his big announcement on Friday, yesterday, that is. But what happened in response to the governor moving 13 more counties from his red zone to his yellow zone? And these are zones that he made up on his own in consultation with his highly respected pediatric psychiatrist, Dr. Rachel Levine, who has no experience whatsoever in addressing pandemics, epidemics, or even viral illnesses. In fact, if you catch the cold or the flu, you would not go to see her because that's not what she knows or does. Yet, She's in control of you, your home, your business, your liberty, and your freedom. More about the COVID-19 and the governor's shutdown, lockdown, business closure orders when we return from this brief commercial break. You're listening to The Mark Scaringi Show.
Now more of Mark Scaringi on News Radio WHP 580.
And welcome back to The Mark Scaringi Show, your place on the dial for constitutional conservatism. This is where we talk about the important political and legal issues of the day from the perspective of putting America first. I hope that Scaringi Law tax ad is not driving you as crazy as it is driving me. At some point, we've got to get in that studio whenever iHeartRadio will allow us and change that ad and talk about all the other things that we do at Scaringi Law. We're a full-service law firm. But we're talking about Governor Tom Wolf's business closure order and his stay-at-home order, his recent announcement as of yesterday, moving 13 counties from his red zone to his yellow zone, giving the people of those counties some hope that their liberties and freedoms that are fundamental to them and guaranteed to them by the Pennsylvania and United States Constitution are in actuality protected, well, actually restored, because they've been denied and deprived to date. And then we're seeing a political revolution occurring in several counties throughout Pennsylvania who are stuck in Governor Wolf's red zone. And we're going to talk about that in a bit, but I know we've got lots of calls, so I want to take some of these calls. Let's start with Irene from Palmyra. You're on the Mark Scaringi Show. Yes, Irene, can you hear us? You're on the Mark Scaringi
Yes,
Show.
I can.
Yes, go ahead, Irene.
I can barely hear you, but let me try to talk to you.
Yeah, go ahead. I can hear you fine.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I have a good example of Governor Wolf's unfairness to people. There's a group of workers called sole proprietors. They're not essential, but they do home improvement like painting and floors and stuff like that. They provide absolutely no risk to the public. They deal one-on-one with the homeowner. They go to empty apartments, empty rooms, do their work, and go home. And yet no one talks about them. No one even suggests that they open up. Restaurants are much greater risk than they are. They get no help. They try to get unemployment, but because they don't have regular salaries, they're denied. One of the ridiculous questions on a form that they have to fill out is this: are you losing your work because you quit or you were fired? There's no thing that you can check that says I lost my work because the government shut me down. You just can't say that. Another thing is that they have to provide the government with 18 months of every bank transcript, of credit card transcript, everything, licenses, the invoices, whatever. And that's almost impossible to do. And yet these people pay local taxes, federal taxes, state taxes. They have to get licenses from the state, which I understand are now going to be in jeopardy. And I just wonder if there's anybody, any organization, any person they can contact to alleviate this situation.
Well, Irene from Palmyra, thanks for calling, and the answer is no.
Alleviate this situation.
The people at the unemployment.
Thanks for calling, and the answer is no.
That was Irene from Palmyra, and thanks for calling. And the answer to your question is no. It's extremely difficult to get a human being to respond to you at the Unemployment Compensation Bureau. We've had individuals who we know who've been ringing the phone for days, and they get no answer, or they get a very strange, like an answering message that goes into some sort of strange busy signal that you've never heard before on planet Earth, and it tells you that your call has gone into some deep, bottomless hole and will never come out. So that's what it's like dealing with the State Unemployment Compensation Bureau, and it is a shame that we have reduced ourselves, free, independent, hard-working Pennsylvanians who own our own businesses, self-employed contractors, for example, painters and others, all of whom were on the initial shutdown list, the initial non-life sustaining list. Now, a lot of construction and home building has been reopened by order of the governor, but that was after a substantial period of shutdown. But it's just so sad that we've been reduced to being supplicants to the government, begging the government for benefits so that we can survive, not because we don't want to go to work or not because we quit work. It's because the governor won't allow us to go to work. It is unprecedented in the law and in history, and it's the grossest deprivation of our constitutional rights in the history of Pennsylvania. And let's pray that at some point we get some court to intervene and rule the right way on this issue. Let's take some other calls. We've got lots of callers here. How about Pam from Lewisburg? Pam from Lewisburg, you're on the Mark Scaringi Show.
Hi, Mark. It's Pam. Thank you for taking my call. The reason I was calling was I had opened my Facebook account this morning, and I had seen that there was a gym owner in the western part of Pennsylvania in Hermitage, PA, that apparently started receiving notices that his electric at his place of business was going to get shut off. You know, he has bills to pay, so he decided to open the gym. The state police showed up on May 1st, told him he needs to shut down. He kept going. May 6th, he had the local police show up. The district attorney showed up. Everybody showed up, I guess, yesterday on Friday. They gave him 2 citations, which he put a copy of on his Facebook account, and they're supposed to be coming back today. The local police and the district attorney said they're going to keep following up with this to make sure that he complies with the stay-at-home and shutdown order. Yet no one is going to help this man pay his bills. The self-employed unemployment compensation system is completely overwhelmed. If you don't have a bunch of employees, you're not really going to be helped by the business loans and grants that are available to business owners. And I don't know how many people are aware of this man's plight, but they're really going to make an example out of him. And I hope that there are enough people that will show support and put some pressure on the right places.
You know, Pam, I wonder if you can link that to my Facebook so that I can take a look at that article. Hermitage, is that in Beaver County?
I sent it to your Facebook Messenger.
Oh, okay.
This morning. I sent you the article, the link to the article. Yeah.
Okay.
I also did speak to this owner. Hermitage is it's west of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I thought it was in Beaver County, and
it's in Mercer County.
It's in Mercer. Okay, it's just north of Beaver County. Okay, because the district attorney of Beaver County, which is west of Pittsburgh and south of Mercer, announced yesterday that he's not going to be enforcing the business closure or the stay-at-home order. So. I'm going to read what you have posted, but it's just it's a deplorable example of law enforcement really kind of being backed into a corner because of this governor's order. The governor's orders are unconstitutional at their source, and so it puts law enforcement in an awkward position of having to enforce them when the everyday average Pennsylvanian gets it that they're wrong. You can't do this to businesses and people, but that's what's occurring. Now, we have seen lots of DAs, district attorneys, county sheriffs, county commissioners announce over the past couple of days that they're not going to be enforcing these orders. So we're going to see how that develops. Pam, thanks for calling. I appreciate that, and thanks for sending me the article. And let's keep talking. We've got lots of, Kelly's gone. How about Ellen from Hanover? You're on the Mark Scaringi Show. Thank you so much, Mark. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for taking my call. I think that this extension of the shutdown to most of the states is the governor basically wants to retaliate against those who challenge his authority. And now that your lawsuit was turned down by the Supreme Court, he feels he can do anything he wants. And I don't know that it meets the legal definition, but that's really what it is. So if there's anything that good comes out of this virus, it will be that the ugly mask on the Democrat Party has finally been stripped away. The mask being the facade of caring for people, and under that is just ugly drive for power. And it's notable that the states who have these extended stay-at-home orders are all blue states. So I hope the country, and especially PA, learns from this.
Well, I do too, Kelly from Mount Joy. Thanks for calling. And yes, well, the United States Supreme Court denied the application to stay or enjoin the enforcement of Governor Wolf's business closure order that we had filed. That was a very difficult hurdle for us to overcome to satisfy the very high legal burden that is against us when we are trying to get a court to intervene and stop the enforcement of a statute, regulation, or in this case, an executive order. So it was a real uphill climb from the start. But we looked at the situation and thought that this has never been done before in the history of the country, where you've seen mass business closure and stay-at-home orders in the first place, let alone orders based upon staggeringly inaccurate scientific projections about the lethality of this illness. It turns out it's the equivalent of the mild flu to the overwhelming majority of the American people. It is harmful and potentially deadly to a very small group demographically of individuals. So the efforts to combat the spread of COVID-19 should have been tailored to the demographics and the geographical areas in which the actual people, the elderly, those with pre-existing medical conditions, including respiratory illnesses and comorbidities, that's where the efforts to combat the spread of this illness should have been targeted from the beginning, not shutting down my law firm, not shutting down a golf course in Warren County or a laundromat in Erie. The orders were absurd on their face, and it's mind-boggling that I still have to point this out because they're still in effect in large swaths of Pennsylvania. But I'm hopeful that so many county elected officials are saying enough's enough. They're unconstitutional. The science behind them was grossly wrong, and we're opening up, and Pennsylvania is going back to work. More about the governor's business closure orders when we return from this brief commercial break. You're listening to the Mark Scaringi Show.
Let's get back to the Mark Scaringi Show on News Radio WHP 580.
And welcome back to the Mark Scaringi Show, your place on the dial for constitutional conservatism. We're talking today about Governor Wolf's business closure and stay-at-home orders and how county officials in parts of Pennsylvania are rising up against the governor and announcing they're refusing to enforce these orders. Yesterday, Lebanon County District Attorney Pierre Hess, she wrote, through mandates and orders, Governor Wolf assumed control of an individual's personal choices. He dictates how we dress, where we go, and what commerce operates for our well-being. Effectively, the governor's orders revoked our personal freedoms and liberties as individuals. Well, that was very well worded, very well written by the district attorney of Lebanon County. She did a fine job there. She also informed the Lebanon County officials, informed the governor that they're moving themselves into the yellow zone, even though the governor has refused to, and regardless of what the governor says or does in response. And then also yesterday, the Dauphin County commissioners, announced they're moving themselves into the yellow zone, even though the governor refused to do it. And apparently, regardless of what the governor says or does in response, will the governor call up the Pennsylvania State Police? Will he send the state troopers to march on the Dauphin County Commissioner's office Monday morning? We shall see what evolves, but we're certainly watching history in the making. Yesterday, the chairman of the Dauphin County Commissioners, Jeff Haste, sent a letter to the people of Pennsylvania on behalf of the entire board of the county commissioners. And in the letter, he stated this: enough is enough. It is time to reopen the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and return our state to the people as prescribed by our Constitution, and not run it as a dictatorship. That is the chairman of the Board of County Commissioners of Dauphin County, in a letter to the people of Pennsylvania, admonishing the governor for running Pennsylvania as a dictatorship. Friends, there is now mass open defiance of the governor's orders by elected officials, including law enforcement officials, who have sworn an oath to protect and defend the Pennsylvania and the United States constitutions. District attorneys, sheriffs, county sheriffs in Perry and Cumberland counties, the district attorneys in Armstrong, Beaver, Greene, Lebanon, Perry, and York counties have all announced they are refusing to enforce these orders, refusing to prosecute individuals who may be charged with them. So we are witnessing something that is historic. You're watching history unfold before your very eyes. So I suggest you stay tuned because it's probably going to get even more interesting as the situation unfolds. Let's take some calls. Let's see. We have Larry from Shiremanstown. You're on the Mark Scaringi Show.
Hey, Mark. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Larry. How are you?
Yeah, I just want to tell you one thing. Tom Wolf happens to be a multi-millionaire. He's living a good life. He can travel anywhere out in this state with the state troopers transporting them, and he has no problem leaving his house, and he has everything he needs. But people like myself and my family have to live from paycheck to paycheck, and we can't even leave our house, and we're restricted to where we can go. It's crazy.
Well, he's His Excellency the Governor, and you are not.
Yeah,
That's the way it works.
That's the way these liberals are. They want to, they're trying to destroy Donald Trump, and they're putting restrictions on the rest of us. Look, I spent 23 years of my life in the military defending the rights of every man, woman, and child of this country. But I can't even walk out of my house without a mask on. It's crazy.
Amen. You're right. Well, what are we fighting for if not freedom and liberty? And we're experiencing it right now.
I know. It's getting ridiculous. People are suffering every day. And he's not doing a damn thing to help us. All he's doing is putting more and more restrictions on our lives. And it's crazy.
You said it.
Look at all the lines. Right. Look at all the lines out there on the roads, people trying to get food to feed their families. Where is Tom Wolf sitting in a food line? I doubt it.
No, he's well fed and well taken care of. Larry from Shiremanstown, thanks for calling. Lots of other people we need to get on. Dave from Mechanicsburg, you're on the Mark Scaringi Show.
Mark, what I wanted to say was that your speech in front of the Capitol was the best speech in that building has ever seen. You got that?
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
We are involved, you are involved in a moral crusade. And as a Christian, I am absolutely outraged at what the governor and his surrogates are doing. I even ran this by moderate Republicans, and even they've been hoodwinked by this governor. The media amplifies everything, absolutely everything that he says as the gospel truth, as he's hiding behind these phony scientists. We can't even get information on them. And I want to leave you with a question, something to think about. Do you think we love Trump, but do you think he should be putting more pressure on these states, these damn blue state governors, to open things up? Okay? Maybe if he would withhold unemployment, that would wake some people up.
Yeah, very good points, Dave from Mechanicsburg. Thank you so much. Excellent points. And your last point, I think, is very sharp, and that is withhold unemployment compensation checks, withhold these PPL loans, and see what happens, see what the American people do in response. There would be bedlam in the streets, but the government buys us off and gives us unemployment and gives us the PPL loans so that we will do what the government orders us to do. And that's the way of the world. It's sickening to me. It's disgusting to me. But that's where we live and how we live in this modern liberal state of tyranny that we're in. We're being ruled by scientists and doctors who are making projections on computer screens, and they're repeating their hysterical observations. And the media is an echo chamber, so the media just churns it up, and it becomes mass hysteria. And all of a sudden, we're all given 3 hours to evacuate our businesses. I was looking around and I'm thinking, where's the disaster? What? Why do I have to leave? I had to leave. I was ordered by the governor to vacate all 6 of my business offices. I had to lay off half of my staff, and they couldn't even come back to pick up their personal effects. Yet we had not one report of COVID-19 at any of our business locations. We had taken all kinds of precautions, limiting consultations to telephone consultations, scrubbing and cleaning the conference rooms constantly, having meetings via teleconference instead of in-person meetings. We had done all of those things in the days leading up to March 19th. But on March 19th, the governor evicted me and my employees from our place of work, and then bribed us with unemployment comp and PPL loans to sit quietly and take it and swallow it. Well, that's the truth, and that's where we are. You defy him, he could take your occupational license, your professional license. You defy him, he can have you arrested, cited, charged as a criminal. It's a sad and sick state that we live in today. You are seeing tyranny all around us. You know, we use that word tyranny, and I don't think the modern ear really has a grasp of what it is, because it's a word our founding fathers used all of the time. And they understood tyranny is when one branch of government usurps the role of the others. So we have a king and a governor who passes laws himself, the business closure order, the stay-at-home order. He uttered those out of his own mouth. They weren't passed by a General Assembly representing the people. He uttered them into existence the way a king utters the law. And that's what we fought a revolution about. Remember, the Boston Tea Party. The King George, shut down Boston Harbor, took away the right and the ability of Boston merchants to work and ordered a shelter in place, a shutdown order in the city of Boston, put it under martial law. Couldn't leave your house without permission of the king. And that's what we have today because of a viral illness. It's absurdity of absurdities is where we are, ruled by hysterical progressive liberals. And look at the results. More on this when we return from this brief commercial break. You're listening to The Mark Scaringi Show.
Now back to The Mark Scaringi Show on News Radio WHP 580.
And welcome back to The Mark Scaringi Show, your place on the dial for constitutional conservatism. Boy, we've been talking about constitutional conservatism for quite a while now. Over the past several weeks of the show, you're seeing a constitutional crisis unfold before your very eyes, where you have county elected officials saying they don't believe the governor's orders are constitutional. They're not enforcing them. And that's that. That's interesting stuff. It's unfolding as we speak. And I know we've got several callers on the line, so I'll tell you now, hold on, we're going to get to you, so don't hang up. I just wanted to tell a very brief anecdote here and about the business closure orders, which businesses are life-sustaining, which are not life-sustaining. And I'll tell you that I've been working around the clock on the litigation that we've been involved in the various high courts of Pennsylvania and the United States, and then shortly we'll be involved in some other courts, doing everything we can to try to get this order stopped. I think we may have a better chance of success now that so many county elected officials have stood up and are defying it, are saying they're not going to enforce it. It's unconstitutional. It's illegal. That will, I hope, put a little wind at our backs. We've been flying solo for a month and a half now, seemingly with the entire state apparatus. Well, not seemingly. In fact, with the entire state apparatus against us and working diligently to oppose us at every turn. And it's just been me here with the assistance of some of my outstanding attorneys. Attorney Glenn Caffrey has been helping me all along, and our star paralegal, Deb Black, I had her up until 3 in the morning one night. I had 2 all-nighters within a 3-night span one night, and I'm starting to get exhausted, but we're not going to stop. I'm not going to stop until we win this battle. But in any event, I wanted to take a break one afternoon, so I went for a drive to just to drive around, and I came upon the tobacco shop that regrettably I frequent, and particularly when I need a little stimulant to keep me awake so that I can continue to draft all of these endless and mind-numbing pleadings and legal cases and stuff that will just bore you to tears. And I came upon my tobacco shop, and lo and behold, it was open. And I thought, what in the world is my tobacco shop being open? So I went inside, and I was told that, well, they've been deemed to be life-sustaining because they sell water and beef jerky. And I thought, well, who would have suspected this? Who would have known this? This is remarkable. And now I'll tell you, I've never been at a loss for water. I've never the well has never run dry. There is no water shortage, and I've never really enjoyed beef jerky, so I don't have beef jerky is not a basic necessity of life for me. I have gone through life without relying upon beef jerky. And I do have water. In fact, if I just turn on any faucet in my house, water will come out. And I've never, and I'll attest to this under oath if necessary in court, I've never gone to my tobacco shop to purchase water. In fact, I don't even like purchasing water from Giant. I wish my wife and we would just use tap water. It's cheaper, but in any event, apparently my tobacco shop is deemed to be life-sustaining. Now, even though our public health officials, the wonderful do-gooders that they are, although they're doing harm in nursing homes in Pennsylvania, like death-type harm there, they are quick to admonish us not to use tobacco products because tobacco will kill us. And yes, ultimately it will. But if tobacco is death, why are tobacco shops life-sustaining? Isn't it interesting? Now, please, Governor, if you're listening, do not shut down the tobacco shops. We need them to survive. They are life-sustaining. They keep me up at night so that I can get my work done, or during the day when I start to drift off. But enough about that. I know there's lots of calls. I just thought you'd like that funny story. How about, or interesting story, Michael from Annville, you're on the Mark Scaringi Show.
Mark, this governor was up for re-election, not being a lame duck governor. Do you think these rules would be the same?
Michael, I'm sorry, the phone's broken up there. Can you repeat that?
With this governor not up for re-election in 2 years, do you think that has a lot to do with the decisions that he's making?
You know, I really don't, Michael. I've worked in politics for a lot of years when I was younger, and I've been around politicians my entire life. And my conclusion is this. Governor Wolf saw Governor Cuomo and other governors acting in response to the COVID-19, which has been determined, they've named a pandemic. So this governor sees the others acting, and politicians have to act, because by acting, you look like you're leading. Now, you could be leading downhill, you could be leading in reverse, you could be leading to your ultimate demise, but at least you look decisive when you're acting as a leader does. And so that, in combination with the hysteria that the media has been perpetrating and spreading throughout the country, so that the average person in March thought they were going to drop dead. I had friends and associates who had a palpable fear in their eyes, as if they were going to die because of what they're hearing their political leaders and the media say on television. So that's my analysis. Governor Wolf wanted to look like he was leading, that he was doing something to prevent the spread of COVID-19, because that would, in his mind, assure him that he was helping to stop the spread and to help Pennsylvanians. That's what he thought. But it wasn't reasonable or rational what he did. The way he led was wrong. Closing down most of Pennsylvania.
Real estate is still closed. The only real estate still closed. The only one in the United States. I had a quick. The lady from Palmyra, she should contact her representative, Representative Ryan, right in Palmyra, if she's having problems with his unemployment. That's what these representatives are there for.
Yeah, we've got some good representatives in Lebanon County, and you've got
you have problems
Russ
with
Diamond.
State government, you shouldn't mess around. You should. They have contacts with each department. I'm an ex-state worker, and take my word for it, when the representative calls those people up there in Harrisburg, they get answers. So she might want to try
well, you've
that.
got good state representatives, and thank you so much for calling. I appreciate that. And we want to get some other calls here, but we've got two good state representatives in Lebanon County. We have Frank Ryan, and we also have Russ Diamond, and they've done a nice job. But that's the long. I guess I gave too long of an answer. I apologize to my listeners. It's hard to hear and communicate because I'm calling from a cell phone on my sofa. I'm not allowed in the iHeartRadio studios. I hope at some point I'm allowed back into the studios so that we can have a clear connection, which is what it's all about in radio, right? It's hard for me to know who's on the phone because I've got to look at my text that I'm getting on my mobile device. So I apologize that it's not as professional the show as it should be. But I don't ascribe any bad or evil motives to Governor Wolf. I think he wanted to look and appear as if he was doing something, acting to respond to this crisis. And he was modeling himself after the governors in the surrounding states, New York and New Jersey, namely. And so he did what he did. But it turned out from the beginning, I knew, and I'm sure most of my listeners knew, how wrong it was. And the consequences have been devastating. Well, I guess that's all the time we have today for the Mark Scarinci Show. Thanks for listening. Tune in every Saturday at 1 p.m.